Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to start talking about romance at the Dungeons and Dragons table. And no, I'm not talking about PC to NPC. I'm not talking about NPC to PC. I'm not talking about PC to PC. I'm talking the literal players at the table, right? So this is deep end of the pool. We're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons from every perspective that touches it, right? And what changes our table? What impacts our table? What changes the stories we're telling? Why are people at our table, right? And I am convinced one of the reasons why people are at our table is romance. Right now, it's very complicated. We're going to start digging into this, but let's jump into this. Okay, so no spoilers for anything in this today. Nice. Okay, all right. So hopefully I'm right about that. I'll give a spoiler warning if there is one. All right, so I'm a YouTuber. I'm a YouTuber, right? So I watch YouTube. I watch a lot of Dungeons and Dragons YouTube, and then I watch finance YouTube, and then Chelsea Fagan over on the Financial Diet. She's fantastic. Go check her stuff out. And then I watch YouTube on subjects I'm really interested in. And I also watch YouTube to see how creators in other spaces are doing it, right? Like, how do they talk? How do they present themselves? What are new ideas for making, YouTube videos fresh, right? So I came across this very extremely good YouTuber. Her name, and she goes by Just Pearly Things, and she talks about modern romance. Also, I've been noticing, so I am very interested in modern romance in that I am married, right? And I have had an incredibly blessed life, right? So I've been married, I have 4 kids, I have 3 decades of marriage, and it is the richest thing in my life next to my Christianity. And it's actually intertwined with my Christianity, right? And I very much care for the lost. I'm saved, I'm going to go to heaven when I die. But I have an incredible, there's this brother in Christ who told me, do you weep for the lost, right? And I care very deeply about the lost. And I study their lives, right? And one of the things I'm seeing is the lost generally are not getting married. Marriage is massively disappearing. It is just simply going away. It's just tick, 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 gone. It's like we're watching it in real time, right? And I'm like, why? Why is this happening? Why do we have this massive decrease of marriage? So I found this chick, just this very nice young lady, and she goes by Just Pearly Things. That's her handle, right? And she broke it down, right? Now, I'm not positive she's right, but boy, I'm not positive she's wrong. And this is the best description. This is the closest reason I have found so far on why marriage is going away, put forward by somebody on the front lines of it, right? Like, I would love to tell you, I want to tell you what's going on with modern romance today, right? But I ain't on the front lines on it. I ain't dated in 30 years, right? And so the reality, actively dated to find a spouse. I mean, I absolutely go on dates with my wife, make sure that happens at least every 2 weeks. On a good month, it's every week. If you're a husband, make sure you're dating your wife. That's important. Right. So basically, but she laid it down, and I'm going to give you my summary. She said, this is what's happening. Right. She said, Chads and Tyrones have absolutely abolished modern dating. Right. And she said, Chad and Tyrone are basic. Here's what's happening. She said, good young men are taken completely off the board. Right. She said, the men that women want today are 6 feet tall, make 6 figures, and there's another 6. I'm not going to say the other 6 because it's rude, but she says, and are another 6, right? And she said, if you are 6 feet tall and you make 6 figures, here's what you do. You just date 20 women, right? And you get exactly what you want from them, and anything you don't want to do with them, you don't have to do with them, and you never wife any of them. Done, right? And she said, this is it. Because, very nice young gentlemen who want to wife up a woman, right? The women are like, you are not 6 feet tall, and you don't make 6 figures, so I'm not going to date you. And if you can't get a date, you certainly aren't going to be their wife, right? Like, you get a wife by dating them. If you're not 6 feet tall and you don't have 6 figures, generally today, you can't date, you're not going to be successful in dating, right? Maybe you get a date, but they ain't gonna when you go to wife that person, it ain't gonna happen, right? And so what she said is that basically 80% of women are dating 20% of men, the Chads and the Tyrones, right? This is all her words, not mine, right? I'm summarizing what she said, right? And she said, and the reality is, and even if you get through, and a young man is able to wife a woman, right? Then that woman is still thinking about the Chad and the Tyrone, and it never works, and it's cracked and it's broken, and ain't nobody got the glue to put it back together, right? That is the best description of why modern dating is failing today. All right, let's talk about that. All right, so unfortunately, so let's talk about my table, right? So my table over the last 2 years has had, I'm gonna list them off. Social player, mechanical player, narrative player, shenanigans player, attending player, dedicated player, I would call them a jester player. That's 7. 7 young men. And then get this. We actually did have, for 2 sessions, we had I don't want to say female player, but she was the only female player, right? So I would say brunette player. Let's say that. No, that's terrible. That's terrible. I would say smiling player. She smiled more than any of my other players. So smiling player, okay? So we had 7 young men and 1 female, okay? Every single one of the players. Oh, social player who played for a very brief amount of time was married. I'm going to take him out of the mix because the reality is he never made his own player character. He was kind of like kind of as a tourist. He was kind of, like a cop on a ride along. He did a ride along, right? There was never a point where he's like, I'm going to take this new feat and add it to my 7th level, fighter. He was always like, I have a fighter. What do I do next? I'm excited about this. He engaged. He was excited, but I don't think he was part of the core. We didn't reach a critical mass as far as time for him to become a core player, right? So I'm just going to talk about my core players, which means I had 6 male players, right? Not a single one of them is married. Not one, right? Then let's just tick it off. One of them is close, may actually propose, right? One of them is dating. Another one of them is dating. One of them does not date, and it's almost a certainty he will never date, right? I would say double that for another player. I'm not even going to match these up to the narratives. And then a third one. So there's 3 out of 3 of those guys. No dates ever, right? So there's so much to talk about here. I'm just going to talk about the smallest portion, right? All right. Let's get there. So if you have 3 guys who never date and really probably have no hope of ever dating and almost no hope of ever getting a wife, right? What does romance mean at the table? Well, first of all, they're not going to find romance at the table generally, okay, with other players. There was 1 female at our table. She was married, so that was not going to happen generally, right? And so let's get there. Let's get all the way there, right? So you've got 3 players, right? They're not going to find in a male group generally, by the numbers. It's possible, but I would say there's 99% they're not going to find any type of a match at the table. 6 guys with 6 guys. There's a possibility, absolutely. There's a 1% possibility that 2 of those guys fall in love and they get happily ever married, and they marry happily ever after. 99% chance that's not going to happen. Okay, so if you got 3 guys at the table who are never going to date, who are and almost certainly never going to get a wife, right? Romance is not there, but what is there is companionship. They have fellowship and companionship for a brief period in their week, right? Now, somebody who has no dating going on and no intimacy, companionship's value goes up, right? So having listened to just Pearly things, I actually think the value of companionship goes up considerably in these no date days. That's my humble opinion. What do you think? And how does this break out in your table? I'd love to hear. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking, subscribing. Have a wonderful millennium.